It's a plane. It's coming to help us out because we're stranded. We're stuck in the depths of the post-apocalyptic era within this dilapidated building, where I'm going to tell you all about how you should subscribe to my channel, Toons Reviews. Thank you all so much for being here with me again. Please, if you're not already a subscriber, click on that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you can see when I have wonderful new content that's coming out on a regular basis, at least 3 to 4 times a week. We are doing such a good job with pushing out content for you all. Please support us, because it's free. Let's do it. Let's get to the topic at hand today. So today we're going to talk about that pesky little thing called getting down. Getting down. That's right. Getting laid. These are the top 5 fragrances to get you laid. No, they're not. You clicked on this video because you thought that perfume was going to help you go down to Pound Town, but you are incorrect. Do you want to know why? Because you need to have an introspective look at yourself. Get down with loving yourself first. Get down with proper grooming, the aesthetic of oneself, the aesthetic of one's love for oneself. Find some interests, some hobbies, be a little bit more interesting, have some charisma, bring something to the table as far as being personable and outgoing, and be a likable human being. Be a good person. Then you'll find someone, not just for mating, because let's just be real, all this shit's real primitive when we talk about fragrances that are gonna get you laid. It's just all silliness. It's silly business, and I will not condone it. I will not participate. So instead, today we're gonna talk about 5 fragrances that are challenging to some, that I think are wonderful, that I'm loving, that you should check out. Number 5 on my list is a fragrance from a house that is a little bit newer. It's called Pine Ward Perfumes, and they are awesome. They're like an indie niche brand, kind of very evocative of Slumber House when they first came out. I think fans of Slumber House out there are really going to enjoy what Pine Ward is doing. Wonderful fragrances. I've enjoyed just about everything that they've pushed out. They're very, very creative. They're very outgoing and out there and lavish and bombastic, and this fragrance is my favorite from the house so far. This is called STEADING, and STEADING is a barley, tobacco, beeswax, and maple fragrance. This is so good. This is not for the faint of heart. This really does remind me of autumn, full-fledged, balls to the wall autumn. Sticks around on the skin for a really long time. There's smoky nuances. There's animalic, primitive nuances that come from that beeswax, and when it mingles in with the woods and the smoke, it really does smell very primitive and animalic, and reminds me very much of being in a lodge out in a pine forest, all on your own. I love this. Just picture having like warm mead by the fireside, in a fire pit that you've created, your own fire, and the wood's burning, and you can smell the pine needles and the pine resin, and you've got some barley hanging out around you as well, and it just smells so natural and so good and sticky. So I highly recommend this fragrance, STEADING from Pine Ward. Check it out. It is a bit challenging, but I think it is well worth sampling, even if you're not familiar with the world of niche just yet. Coming in at number 5 is a fragrance that I consider to be one of my signature scents at this point. It is one of my favorite fragrances I've found in the last couple years. It's one of my most favorite amber-based fragrances that I've ever discovered. And this is coming from Rania J, and this is AMBRE LOUP. There's a lot of folks out there that find this to be quite challenging and skanky in its DNA. When it mingles with the cinnamon, amber, vanilla, there is a bit of a skanky, primitive element in the fragrance that plays throughout, but to me, it just adds an element of interesting characteristic. It doesn't really take over the fragrance, and to be honest with you, it's not even something that I find to be prominent or dominant on the skin. It's just kind of peeking its head out every so often. But if you are looking for a slightly on the verge of primitive amber, vanilla amber, to be more specific, then I would definitely check this out. This is definitely one of those fragrances that's very warming and spicy and lovely and sexual in nature, in my opinion, and very romantic. So if you like those borderline gourmand ambers, please check this out. This is a wonderful fragrance. It's a 10 out of 10 masterpiece from me, Rania J's Ambre Loup. Coming in at number 3 is a fragrance that I have loved for some time and only recently picked it up. This is from the House of Beaufort, London. I love the entire range. I am going to someday own every fragrance from this range. I'm head over heels in love with it. Super cool concept of a house, super gothic and almost medieval type concoctions. Very, very pungent, strong, and independent niche house. And I love that the story starts with the drummer from Prodigy, which I just think that's so cool that he loves perfume. So this is Iron Duke, and this is supposed to be a battlefield essentially. And it definitely smells like flint and gunpowder and smoke from all these guns being lined up and shot off and then being reloaded by, you know, whatever. I basically envision a battlefield where there's like maybe 15 or so soldiers left all together, and there's just all this metal left around, and smokiness from the cannons going off and all of the black powder guns going off, and it's very, very good. It's very good, and I know that that's not necessarily the most beautiful, happy picture being painted, you know, death and decay and destruction, but it's a very interesting fragrance. And on the front of the bottle, there is the horse who is shielded with its armor. And I do find that this fragrance, even though it has very much gunpowder elements and smoky elements, does remind me of something that is a bit medieval. I could definitely see some kind of night smelling like this back in the day. And I do really love what this house does. They make very, very creative artisanal perfumes, and I love Iron Duke. It is my first purchase and first full bottle from the brand, and I definitely plan on continuing to pick up more. I do have 2 others that I've picked up since, but this was the first and my first love from the brand, Iron Duke. Coming in at number 2 is from one of my favorite niche houses, Naso Mato. And no, this is not Baronda, my favorite from the house. That one I think is very, very easy to get along with if you like whiskey and oak. Instead, we have a fragrance that has been revered as one of the greatest from the house. I personally think that it's a bit challenging, to be honest, and that is Pardon. If you are not a fan of patchouli and oud, this can definitely be challenging. This is a very chocolatey, dense patchouli with a very hardened, woody oud, very, very rugged with magnolia. And to me, the combination can be quite cloying if you overspray. I usually only do about 3 sprays with this sucker, but it is gorgeous, drop dead gorgeous. I absolutely love this. This is, you know, a lot of people say that this smells like a dandy, a refined gentleman. I don't find it to really create that kind of imagery for me personally. I know that when people talk about this fragrance, it's more like, you know, they think about like flappers and just a gentleman dandy from the 20s or 30s, and I don't see that at all. I could see a gentleman from kind of like maybe the 1700s or the 1800s smelling like this, but it does not remind me of that era whatsoever. But nonetheless, I personally get kind of like a refined, almost steampunk cowboy that's kind of elegant and dressed well. And that's kind of what this imagery is for me when I spray this fragrance on. And I really do love that it's got some animalic nuances and it has a very hardened edge to it, but it also smells pretty. So that juxtaposition is really interesting to me, and I absolutely find this fragrance gorgeous. I absolutely love it. I love it. It is so good. So if you're looking for a more gourmand oud, it is a bit challenging, especially if you're just getting into niche, but I think that it's easily a fragrance to fall in love with. So this is Naso Mato's Pardon, coming in at number 2. And coming in at number 1 for challenging fragrances that I love, and I think that you would too if you gave them a chance, No, these are not fragrances that are gonna get you laid just by wearing them. I cannot reiterate that enough. I'm really gonna cement that and drive that home for you all. Fragrance does not, I repeat, does not get you laid or a girlfriend or any of that shit. Bogus, absolutely bogus. Coming in at number 1 for challenging fragrances that you should check out that are absolutely gorgeous is Fate Man. That's right, Fate Man from Amouage. Imagine cumin just drowned in maple syrup and some floral notes. There's a little bit of woodiness in there too, like a dry woods or a dry incense rather. Oh, what an interesting fragrance. And I will admit that when you spray this on initially, it is a bit culinary and very, very overpowering with that cumin, but I find that to be very interesting. I've never really found a cumin-based fragrance that I've thoroughly enjoyed before, to be honest. It definitely does have that BO vibe, cumin as a note. But this, with that immortelle note that smells a lot like maple syrup or maple pancakes, gorgeous and very interesting. It's different. You're gonna smell different. And that's the thing that I really wanna drive home. That is the whole point that I wanna make with this video, is for you to not jingle around in your fucking pockets and start jerking off about how you wanna get laid to fragrances. No, the point that I wanna make is to drive home that you should smell different and not just pick up these fragrances based on thinking that you're gonna be aesthetically more pleasing in the sense of like more attractive without putting in the work, the self-reflective work. It's just not gonna happen. It's silliness, it's nonsense. So if you want to put in the work of smelling different and smelling like a piece of artwork, definitely check this out. It is so good. Absolutely one of the fragrances that I've fallen in love with over the last few months. This is a newer acquisition for me, and another fragrance that I found in the Scent-Timber meetup from Daniel once again, who, because of him, I have spent an exorbitant amount of money in the last month on several fragrances that I found that he brought along with him. So thank you so much again, Daniel, for introducing me to a few of these wonderful fragrances, this being one of the ones that I'm now absolutely in love with. This is so gorgeous if you're looking for, again, that spicy cumin-based maple pancake type vibe fragrance. So Amouage Fate Man coming in at number 1 for challenging fragrances that I'm really digging as of late. I hope you all enjoyed the video. I hope you're all doing well and you're all happy and healthy out there, and I will see you all soon. Be sure to check out videos as they come and make sure that you click that notification bell. All right, hope you're all doing well.